Hey all, welcome back. We are doing yet another Continental video involving the power seats. We're going to use the subject that we've always used here, a 1979 Continental Town Car. In past videos we've already done where we've upgraded the power seat switch to a newer, better quality. We used one from my 1995 Town Car. And we, reiterate the reasons for doing this repair and doing the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, because we've got the seat out. If you can kind of see it behind me there, got the seat out, and what we're going to do is basically do kind of what I would call a full service of the power seats, to make them work as flawlessly as they can, because they get, what happens is you either get the gearing, the grease gets old. I've had that. I've also had bad cables that, and your seats and everything might move. They might move forward and backward. The tilts might all work, but it might be really laboring to do it. And so what we're going to do is go through and service, check everything, correct everything, grease the tracks, grease the gears, and just go through and make sure everything is in tip-top shape. And this is definitely something that you should do even if your seats appear to be working as they should. The whole reason for this is and I will show you a switch that came out of this car that was pretty close to being caught on fire. And that's the whole reason for doing all of these videos that I've done on the power seats. You can go check out the past. I've repaired the cables, I've repaired and taken apart the gears and everything like that. This video is showing some of the same types of stuff, but just showing it a lot better, and pretty much kind of a step-by-step how to do it, because there is a fire hazard with these, because number one, there's power on it all the time. Whether the car's on or off, you can move the seats around. And so if you've got problems with this system, you can have to where your switch doesn't work, or you can have it to where you move the seat in a certain position, and when you let off the switch, the seat continues to go until it reaches the end of its travel, and it still continues to try to go and burns things up, burns the switch up, and sometimes it can happen slow enough that it just gets the switch really hot, creates heat and all that kind of stuff prior to getting enough current to, say, blow fuses and whatnot. So that's usually what ends up happening, and that's why we want to go through all this stuff. So we will get another camera view, and I'll show you the switch that came out of this car, and then we'll go through what we're going to do with the service of the bottom of the seat. So keep watching. Okay, this is what the switches are supposed to look like. Granted, this one has a little bit of corrosion and stuff going on. It could be cleaned up, but the switch operates smoothly. Everything seems to be a little bit, proper and everything. The protective shrink wrap is still on and available. This switch did not come out of this car. This is one I found somewhere. This switch did come out of this car. You can see it got very hot. There's a lot of corrosion on there. It's very dangerous to have in this car because of how hot this got. It just melted this stuff right off of here. And there's corrosion inside here. I don't have the base anymore, but it melted the plastic base that this plugs into. Okay, this is what that base looks like. This one was I don't know, I didn't cut these ones off, but I had one that it was, you know, it was all burnt and melted inside of here. Just, you know, the one where this switch came out of, this wasn't it. I don't even know why I still have this one, but this is just really dangerous. And so that's why we opted to put in, this is a switch. This actual switch came out of a 1985 Town Car, and it's a lot better quality. These move a lot better, and it's sealed better all around it. The ones that are in this car are from a 1995, but the switch looks identical to this, and you'll see that from the other videos that I have talking about this. So we just thought I'd just go through that. Parts you're gonna find in here. Here is a cable. This is a good cable. They're got a square drive, kind of, you know, but this is actual like cable, but it's these square ends go in here, and then your motor would, you know, let's put this on here actually. Your motor basically turns this as such. Obviously a lot faster than I'm doing it, but you can bend this in a lot of different shapes. And so when you look at the bottom, here is your 3 motors. I can't exactly remember, well, we can follow the cables. This is the front of the seat, because we've got the seat laying down here. So we've got your front tilt down here, which is this cable, because this is your mechanism for your front tilt. So you got this cable, goes back here, so this motor does your front tilt. If you follow this cable along all the way to the back, same mechanism here, that does your rear tilt. And then if you follow this cable up to the top, right in there, you can get a view of it right there, that is your front tilt. Let me show you what a bad cable looks like. Okay, this is a cable that was in this car, and it was on the driver's side. It had this area in here that got damaged somehow. I really don't know how this happened. Hopefully we can get this to kind of focus a little bit here. And it just kind of balled itself up, and it twisted, and you can see how it came all around, and this just will not turn. Like, you can grab a pair of pliers or do anything, and this just will not turn. And so this was for your forward and reverse, and with this switch in here, I assume this switch, because see how this operates really, you got to take a lot of pressure to get that, you know. And same with the back and forward on it, right there, back, and it just creaks, it does all. What I assume happened is, because when I got this car, the seat had went all the way forward and it didn't go back, and they had actually removed it, built some special brackets because they didn't know how to fix it, and that allowed the seat to get moved back where they can drive it. And what I did was I pulled the seat out, got rid of those brackets, which they did a good, you know, job. It was able to be taken back and put all back to original again. But what I assumed happened was this switch, they went to move it forward, and they let off of it, and it didn't break contact, and it kept going until it got to where at the end of its travel, and then it just kept trying to turn this until it pretty much just spun and just balled this thing completely up, and it wouldn't turn. It wasn't until I thought, you know, I had a bad motor was when I finally put a new switch into it, and then I tried moving it back. It wouldn't go, and then I pulled the seat out, and I had it wired up. Through this plug right here, and I just had a battery that was going to each of the leads here. I believe it was in this, I can't remember, it's one of the two on the ends. And it, you know, it would try to move, try to move one direction, but it wouldn't go the other direction. And when I eventually pulled the cable out of here, then the motor would spin freely, and that's how I knew that I had a bad cable instead of. And then I've got another video where I assumed I had the same type of thing, whereas I took the cable off from this end and then tried the motor, and the cable moved and did freely, and that's when I found I had problem in here. And we took this deal apart. It's just dark in that video, you can see it, but we're going to do it again. And so what we found was the grease was just old, it was sticky, it was full of dirt, and it just didn't have the same lubricating properties as it used to, and it was just extremely hard to turn. But once we cleaned all that old grease out of here, we were able to get that front tilt to work. It was actually on the chair, it was in here. So you can check that video out also. But you know, if that's the problem you're searching for, this video might be a little bit better about that as far as it goes. But this is, you know, what you might find. I have yet to find any bad motors, but that is possible. But there's just different ways to be able to figure out exactly what your problem is, and should be, you know, with all the different videos that I have, including this one, you ought to be able to at least get close, especially even if you have an older car. You know, if you got a 74 Continental, I don't know what the stuff looks like in there, but it's got to be very similar, because this is very similar even to a 1995 Town Car. So if you've got one of those, this should work to get you a good idea of how to do this. But what we need to do is we need to service. You know, we gotta go along in here, and we're gonna re-grease. Like, this is grease here, but we're gonna re-grease the track. We've got these gears here for your forward and reverse of your seat. We're going to re-grease those. You've got those on both sides in there. We've got your gearing inside of here. There's one of these black caps on this side that we need to access and get to. We're going to pull these off of here, and there's planetary gears and stuff in there that all need to be cleaned with and re-greased. And once you're done with doing all what we're going to do, these seats are going to work amazing. And that way, you know, you can either do this yourself, or, you know, you can come over to our shop and have us do it. But anyways, aside from that, something needs to be done, because these are potential fire hazards. And let me show you. So here is, on the passenger side, switch from the 1995 Town Car. Totally matches. Everything looks all nice and proper, as it should. These switches match these switches, you know, and they function as they should. So on the other video that shows you how to wire these in, you can do that. It's pretty easy to do. So with that, let's get to it, and I'm doing the service of the seats. Another thing is, if you don't, you know, if you want to get this done and you don't, you know, want to do it yourself, you can I'm going to offer that, you know, you can ship this base to me, and I will go through and fix and get it all working flawlessly. It's real easy. These bolts, you got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this whole base comes off the bottom of the chair. And then you can, you know, if you want, you can get in touch with me. I'll put my email address on here, and you can arrange it, you know, if you want to ship it to me and get it made. I can also make better schematics in order to install the newer switches in here. That way I can sell those too. So just an option, but there is, like I said, there's a couple different ways of doing this. You can start with it like this on the chair, or you can take those 4 bolts out, put this thing onto a bench and work with it that way. Well, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is get this base off of here. There's 4 bolts on each end. We got one there, one there, one there, and one there. 3/8 head. I don't like using power tools on older stuff such as these. It's just, I don't know, personal preference, but I'd just rather be nice and easy with really old, delicate stuff. Alright, I'll pause this while I'm getting all these out. Okay, so once the, you know, this is what they look like, just little regular bolts. And this whole thing will all follows one piece. I'm just going to set it down flat. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out all of the cables. Now, I've been in this one before, and so you can see that I've got some zip ties where these clamps would normally be. You can see that clamp that's right here holding the cable in there. I've found that they're really hard to get in there. They're also, these zip ties hold a lot better, and they're lots easier to put on and off. So that's what I've got going on there. Whether that's right, I don't know, but that's what we're doing. Is we take this spring off of here, get it completely out of here, out of the way. I put all my parts and everything that I take off in a place where I can see them, such as that white paper. Not that that matters, but so if you've got, since I've got these zip ties on here, I need to watch your eyes. Safety glasses, safety first. I gotta clip these zip ties off of here. These just pull out. I've got few other videos that show how to do this a lot, you know, in closer depth or whatever. Get those all off. As I told you before, they're just kind of a square drive on the ends here. When they pull out like this, you'll have to just kind of turn it, get it back in on the other side, but you can take them off on the other side too if you need. If you can't turn it like this, because you're not going to be able to turn this motor, then you know that's in. So you want to check that. Now if you got the clamps, let's see if I can do this. They're kind of a bear. There, got that one off. And what I usually do, should do this before, this first motor is your forward rearward. So I just put F/R. This one, this middle motor, follow the cable over to where it used to go. That's your rear tilt. So I put RT on here. And then lastly, this one here that went up here to the front here, that's your front tilt. So I just put front tilt just as a way to kind of remember where it goes. Usually these cables you can't get them really mixed up too much. Okay. The next step that we do is on the end of here, we've got this little snap ring. And it is a little tiny one. Show it to you there. That snap ring right there on the gear. So just get this in here. Pry it loose. Focus, you son of a gun. Anyways, that off. The next thing we've got to do is we're going to get these, it's kind of like a cotter key pin or whatever. We'll get that out. We just kind of delicately spray some penetrating oil, because there's one there and there's one right back in there. We got to get them out of there. So usually I'll take a pair of side cutters, try to straighten it out as much as possible. If you do it right, you'll be able to reuse them. But if not, it's not a huge deal. I'm finding that they're, and I take these side cutters and I just kind of don't grip so tight that you cut it, but you just roll it out of there. Okay, let's see how that is now loose from, or I guess it's getting to be loose. See that? Okay. Now we'll get the other one off there. And I'll go ahead and yeah, so I like to pause. You guys all don't need to you just need to know what to do. You don't need to sit here and watch me do it. I mean, if I was some really good looking model from Switzerland or something like that, might be a different story, but I'm not. So anyways, so once you got that off, get that loose, got that other pin out of there. So what you'll do is you'll just very soft, just kind of tap over here as you're kind of working this out. Okay. Because what's going on is you're kind of press fit in, like this rotates in, but you're kind of press fitting that into that, oh, come on, where's the thing here? Into that hole right there. And so now, the next thing I do is I go ahead and slide this track just a little bit forward. That will access these screws, which are 1/4 inch right there. And just go ahead and take this off. I mean, you don't really have to, but it does make it easier to handle. So we get a 1/4 inch nut driver and get these off. We are just basically essentially getting in here to anything that moves. And we're going to grease it, but we're also going to tear apart, or not tear apart, we're going to take apart the gearing in here and grease it all up and get out the old grease. Because on this seat, one of it was the front tilt that wasn't working, and I've got a video on it when I did this while it was in the car still. What we did is we took this apart in here. So this one right here I'm not going to take apart today, but it comes apart just like this one does. So we'll see that. But we did this in the car. We just tilt the seat back because my front tilt wasn't working. You can tell it was trying to. And then I pulled the cable out. Cable spun freely. So then I knew I had to get in here. So I got into here. And took that apart and re-greased it, and then got it back to working again. And now we're just doing all the rest of these, even though my rear tilt works and the front tilt works, or the forward and backward work also. Doing this just basically ensures that it's gonna work without any labor for a long time. You kind of move that to the side. I'll move this out here, your motor setup. And I pretty much just like to set everything kind of out, you know, where it's going to stay, so I don't get everything kind of mixed up. And so we kind of move this out of the way. So next step is we've got this spring right here. Just kind of work it off of there like so. I'll show you a trick about getting it back on. They can be hard, but if you know the trick, they're not. Again, I set the parts over there. What we've got now, we've got these two nuts here, 1/2 inch socket, I believe. We'll double check it. There's the head to one of them, right there. It's kind of like a carriage bolt with a square drive inside of it, so you don't need to get anything on this side of it to get that bolt out. Let me not keep you so far away. Let me find, pause it while I locate my socket. got the socket, so we'll start. Ooh, that one was loose. I don't know how tight they're really supposed to be, but I just try to lay everything out so that I can remember how it goes on. One way to do it is they set the nut on top of that deal like that so that I can see you know, that nut goes on that side of it. So we got these two right here. Now these bolts can stay in the whole time. There's nothing, they're loose now. The next thing we need to do, it's gonna get a little tricky. Is on each side of here, where this is kind of like a pin, that's a head on a pin right there. On each one, got another one there. So in here, right here is kind of like a cotter pin. Let's see if I can get this out. Stay up, stay up. I'm holding it with my knees. There we go. Just a sort of a cotter pin-ish type thing. Your other one, it's right in there. Let's see if I can get a better shot of it where we're not in the shadow. Right there, see it? So we got to get that out. Take a pair of needle nose pliers. Pull it out. Put it off to the side. And then you do one of two things. I usually try to go in on this side over here with a flat bladed screwdriver and start it, but you can come out here very carefully and just pop these out. Get them out so far, and if they won't go, because these are plastic, so you don't want to do too much of prying on that. These are a little stiff, so I'm going to take this screwdriver to the other end of this, and I'm just going to tap them where they come out, and then we'll grab with a pair of pliers. Basically, I'm just, see how it's popped out a little bit now. That side I got out with the screwdriver. This side I just kind of tapped it on the end there. I'm not sure if these pliers are going to work. I'm going to need to get another pair. You can kind of, yeah, I'm going to need to get another different style. I'm actually going to use these vice grips. Get on a little bit tighter. There we go. See, it's just a pin. That out. This one I'm not sure if I got it out enough. Should be all right. Position. Yeah, we're coming out. Okay, just a pin. So I can get in here and focus on that. Come on, you damn camera.
Okay. That's all it is. There's a hole, little itty bitty tiny hole on the end of it. Okay, now let's go ahead and get you guys up here. Focus, there we are. Now what'll happen is, I thought, got another snap ring on this side right there that we got to get out, just like that one I showed you on the other side. Okay. Okay, that. Rotate this up here. That will allow this whole thing to come out so that we can get to this side, get these 3 bolts off of here, take that off, and then we can get into these 2 deals to get those off. Alrighty. Okay, we got this out. Now, we're not going to do this side because I've already done it on this one, but it's the exact same way as this side. So what you want to do is take your 1/4 inch, get all of these screws out. Get all them out. This piece will lift off of here. It's got a worm gear there, and there's your square drive that your cable goes into. So if you had your cable, it'll go in like that, and then it'll rotate. See, I'm turning this with my hand here. That's what rotates that worm gear, which in turn turns this gear. And then we'll get in there a little bit farther with this gear, pull it out. Out. And see all this grease, it's really sticky, and it just doesn't have, it's got full of, it's just dirt over the years. Now in here, this is the mostly of the problem, is these planet gears which come out. Sometimes this gets stuck in there too, but you know, these, it's just, this doesn't work very freely. And when I found when I did this side over here, you know, when I did this side when it was in the car, I couldn't even turn these hardly. And so, you know, these are working because this is for the rear tilt, and that function was working, but this grease is just old, and it just needs to be all cleaned out of here and just get new grease, because there's a lot of dirt and everything in here from just, you know, 40 years. Depending on it, don't think this has probably ever been done, but I spray some brake clean. Now this gear right here comes out the back side just like this, because this is the back side of that planetary gear setup. You can see the rivets on it for the gears there, which go in contact with those teeth right there for your front and rear tilt. Got the ones back there. So that's how that works. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get all of these cleaned up, I'm just going to spray brake clean. I spray brake clean, wipe it all off, use a little compressed air, wear safety glasses if you do that, you know, because all this stuff right here is all going to come out of here. And these are going to be all cleaned up. We'll get this part done here, get it all put back together, and then we'll work on this part here. And as I said before, this side is the exact same, comes apart the exact same way. It just happens to be that they're opposite. Your worm drive is going up here like this, whereas this one is going in here like this. But this part is actually interchangeable with that part. That's all you're doing there. So there's nothing rocket science about what I'm doing here. It's just, it's nice to know and show, you know, how to actually take this apart to make it easier. And in my opinion, this really needs to be done, if it never has been done, to make this system work like it's supposed to. All right, we'll get this cleaned up, get it all put back together. Okay, we got all of our parts cleaned up. Doesn't have to be perfect, but got everything, all that old grease out of there. We got the old grease out of here. What I like to do, and this is, we're just going to use, this is just wheel bearing grease. It really don't matter what you use, because it's, you know, it's just grease. It's not, we're not doing anything that's taking anything to the moon per se. But I go ahead and just put some grease, get all these gears kind of rotated around, get it all on them real good. Then we'll put a dab of grease on this side here and get it on this gear. We'll also get a chance to put more on that later. So then this goes in here. And you're gonna have to line up the gears sometimes to get them all the way in. All of them. And they can be a little stubborn once in a while. There we go. But you want to shove it all the way through, and you want it to be pretty much flush, maybe protruding out just a smidge. You can see this side, but it moves a little bit. You can see how this comes out some. It does move a little bit. So what I like to do is just get this, you know, you can have it flush right here, but just like that ought to be just enough. That's just fine. So now we take this gear and we're gonna just go around this outside gear right here, put some grease on it. When I work it in here, I get it worked into what I call the valley of the teeth. So on your teeth, you know, you've got basically, well, it's just up and down zigzag, so the valley's down below. You want to get the grease in there, and that's kind of why I work it in as such. Same with this other part of the worm gear. And so this little small gear right here goes into the planetary gears. You just have to rotate it around and finagle it till it gets in. You'll feel it go in. Okay, and then we'll take a little bit of grease and put it all over this worm gear. Get it into these parts right here, because that spins, and then just kind of work it in, get it all the way through on every bit of it, get it in the valleys of all of these teeth too. And then I'll just take and do a nice layer right in top there. And once it starts going, it's a little messy doing it. You're going to get a lot of grease on here, but you'll have a chance to wipe that off later. And then just go ahead and slide this through and get all the bolts put in. Usually get all of the screws started, and then I start going down, tightening them all down. But I'll pause it so you don't have to just sit there and watch me do that. Yeah, we got all those tightened up. Do the exact same thing we just got done to this side on yours. Now on this side, we've got just 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. The same size. We got to get them pulled out. Okay, got all 3 of those screws out, and she starts to come loose, as you can see, like that. So the next step is, this is kind of tricky. Let's see if we can get a good, hold on, we'll get a better view. All right, a little better view. See how this is loose there. Now this part right here, this part right here is press fitted in the same as this part right here. You can see those lines right there. So what you kind of do is stick this here and just kind of work it back and forth and push this side, this side, this side, this side. And eventually it will come off. See how we're getting a little bit more exposed there. Just work it back and forth. Sometimes you can tap it like that just a little bit. This is a steel rod, so you're not going to hurt anything there. But we're going. See, we're getting more loose. And she pops off, and then this can slide all the way out to expose your worm gear and the right gear for your forward and backward. There we go. Get that all cleaned up and greased up. Okay, we'll get some more grease. Kind of just go all the way around and smear it. And rotate the worm gear around. Get it all in there. The other thing is, this kind of spins. This is the part that's pressed into the casing here. So I try to get some grease worked in, because it kind of moves a little bit. Get some grease worked in behind it by moving it around. Grease is amazing. It will find where it needs to go. It's really interesting. But get that and get it worked up in here in the very, very front of it. Like I said, I know this is messy, but trust me, it is worth it to do all of this. Let me go ahead and go around all of these gear teeth. Doesn't really matter too much, but if you get it all around these gear teeth, it's just that much better. And the same thing with this. This one spins. This one's actually spinning really good. The one on my other side was not. And so I did the same thing. I just kind of put dabs of grease in here all the way around, and then as you rotate this, you move it around, and that grease, it will find its way in there. Do the same thing on this side. And when I did that, I had that rotating and spinning, but you can tell that the grease is all the way in that shaft now, underneath of this. And then you'll just wipe off the excess on the outside here, and you'll have a pretty good amount of grease in there. And we'll just do another dab right there, keeping it off of that. Perfect. And we'll get more grease, and we'll put it all in these valleys here. I don't know if that's the correct term for that, but that's the term I'm using. It's my way, it's my video. These are all just suggestions, just to kind of show possibly how it's done. Gee, someone totally smarter than me, they could get this done in like 10 minutes. We've already been at this for over 30. Okay, if you can't really remember, which way this goes in, you'll just want this gear out here with the rest of these like so, but you really can't forget, because your worm gear needs to go inside. What you do is you kind of just get it started in here, sort of. Get it on here like that, and then you'll very, very carefully, I cannot stress how much you need to be careful with this part right here. Get around the base, get that put in here. It's not really pressed in that hard. It doesn't press in that hard. And you get it right there, and until you can get that part flush with everything. And if you can still move this, see this part I'm watching right here? That's okay. Your screws are going to tighten down on that. You want this to protrude out about like that. That part right there. That's perfect. Now we'll get the screws started, get them back in there, and then we'll be done with this. You, on the other hand, still have another side to do. Get to it. Oh, you believe all the hours that I have into learning about these power seats, because they did not operate at all in this car. And I had a switch that was nearly caught the damn thing on fire. And then getting all working, we had new cables. I had gummed up grease in one of these tracks on one side, and it's like, you know what? We just need to go through all of this and just make sure it's all lubricated good. And that's what we're doing. That's what I'm showing you how to do. So, and just has 3, like I said before. Get them started in there, and then we'll go keep moving on. Okay, so we'll what I did do also is I lubricated all of the grease, greased all this these teeth and stuff here, and we'll we'll set this aside for the time being. And then the next thing you do, slide this out. Now, one thing you can kind of test is, you know, individually this track right here will slide, and you can tell, you know, it does okay. But when you get done with this, you'll see exactly how much better it is. So on the back side of here, got this piece right here. Your gear from your forward and backward on that big shaft goes through there, but you can go ahead and take that off, and then you can slide this out. Okay, and then we're going to grease these points here. Now be careful, these sometimes these plastic, these ones aren't wanting to. So see, they'll come off. You want to make sure that they stay in there. But we'll go ahead and do. You want to just make sure that you're keeping this all in the same direction. This is why I'm kind of just holding this like this. I'm trying to also show you how to do it, but I'm also really trying to remember on myself as to, you know, how this goes in, because it'll just be that much easier putting it back together. But we'll go ahead and put grease in all these parts here. Both sides. There's an old piece of grease I gotta get out. Sorry if sometimes it's not quite in view. I really apologize. It's tough to film this sometimes. I'm watching what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden I realize, I look over and I see that it's not in camera focus, or you know, y'all can't see what I'm doing. I do apologize, but I'll take some grease and I'll put it inside the runner on this side, because this is where we're going to be starting in. Pretty decent amount. Get it inside the lip of here. And as you rotate or push the track through, you know, it'll push the grease where it needs to go. This happens to be that carriage bolt that bolts the main track on, or the gearing. And it's just like a square drive that goes in there. I just thought I'd point that out since they're right here. Okay, so we slide this back into place. Oh, that works so much better. Now this, what you want to do is clean all the gunk out of it first. Just get a dab in here. Not too much, but just enough that when we start to put this back on, and go ahead and smear it all around it too, because it's going to slide up against here too. Just get grease all the way up and down there, and it just slides right back in place. You see now the grease smushed out of it, and then just kind of work it back and forth here, and you're going to end up with your hole right here, and that's where this is going to end up going. And so what I do is I've got this, you know, in the same position, pretty much just go till it stops, and that way both of these tracks will end up even. That's what you want. already getting ourselves ass afterwards here. Okay, so we got this track lubricated really well. Working phenomenally. Ah, it feels so much better. When I did the other seat on the other side, it was just, the way it worked was just so much better. You can kind of put a little bit of grease in some of these places like this. It'll kind of work itself in. Also, in here with these teeth, this is how your front and rear tilt works, as that gear that we were working on just does that. So what you can do is get this all the way up here, and wipe off some of this old grease, smear some good new grease in here, get all the teeth. And on the back side of this, get it all in here. If you get it down in here, then when it gets to this position, there, and then you can get some more grease coming in here like this. Just smush it around. Okay, I can say that you can't have too much, but you can. You have so much just running out, you know, all over the place. You don't really want that. But do the same thing for this part here that's on the rear tilt. Just to get a good amount of grease over there too. Okay. Go ahead and we'll grease up this track. We'll do it the same way we just did the other one. It's just that this piece is by itself. But I'll go ahead and do that. Pause and everything. Okay, so we got this track all greased up. If you got excess like this, it ain't gonna do anything. Go ahead and get that off. You know, move it back and forth, that way you can see all that. You get it in here. I mean, this works really nice. Get this part, and you'll want this back as far as it can go. That way you keep these two things even, because you don't want this one out here where your other one is forward when you go to put this back together. Keep it about where you had it before. Set this aside for right now. And take this and kind of set it up here like that, and we're gonna take and put this back in place. Hopefully that's a decent view. Started in these carriage bolts. The one won't come out, but you're gonna have to hold it on the back side on the other one. Okay, and when you get to this point, you have to rotate this around. Keep it out here, and then you'll want this out like this, because now I've got it backwards. So you want this to be like that, and really, let's get a different view here. That should be a little better to see. So you want this all the way back as far as it'll go. This will get in here. The tricky thing is getting everything lined up with your front and rear tilt, these outside gears. That's the part that's the hardest. If you get this thing back in here, up here like so, it'll start in. Okay, so I just had a problem with the camera. Just got done putting these two nuts on. I don't know where it ended out. Got this nut put on here and that nut put on here for the back side of these. You know, they're kind of a carriage bolt type thing. That's going to be for your spring. The next thing we need to do, put this up here like this, and we've got to put in our snap ring over here. But got our little snap ring here. Goes on this end here. I like to get it flush on there, hold it down with my finger, and then as I do that, and we are snapped in. Perfect. Okay. Now we've lubricated the other track. The next step is to bolt the motors to the track, because if you put the track on in this position, you won't be able to get to your bolts go. These are your two holes right here for the bolts that mount the motor, or the motors, on place. But if you have this thing in the position it needs to be, you've got those holes covered. And so that's the next step to do, is go ahead and mount your motors on here, same way they came off. Actually, we'll go ahead and do this, but we need to remember to put our pins back in down here. I'll show you that. But we can go ahead and do this. Oh, my nut driver's all the way over there. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, I'll pause this for a second. Okay, we got our motors mounted on there. As I showed you before, there's the two heads of the bolts there, but with the track slid where it needs to be, you know, to match up with that hole and be all the way back, can't get to them, so they need to be on now. Okay, the next step before we forget is we got to take these pins, here, and they go right in there. Just push them. With it all greased up and everything now, they usually go in pretty good. Not that one. But if that's the case, you just take your proper hammer and give her a tap. Where is my hammer? Oh, clear over there again. Okay, now we need to get our itty bitty little, I guess like cotter pins or whenever those go. We need to get those in on the back side of those pins. Said one's gonna be right here. Be right there in front of this. So that's the one that's tricky to get. The other one's not too bad. It's right in here where all this grease came out of. Right there, when you get that pin put in there. So I'll get that done. Okay, so we got our pins in right there. You can see that, it's just a little pin. This side I had to kind of make my own. I couldn't find the other one. Oh wait, I did find it. It was just all bent wrong and I couldn't use it. As long as you get something in there to hold it, that's fine. And now, next part's a little tricky too. Take some grease, put it on these little nubs here. Got one there and there, because they're gonna go in here and in here, and that's where your other cotter pin, your larger ones go. Like that one right there came out. The other one got damaged, so we're gonna replace it. And then this needs to go through that hole, and then it needs to match up with this, which can slide, oops, sorry about that, slide all around, but you want to have your track far back this way as you can without making that hole disappear. That way this side and this side are even. Make sense? Of course it does. So we start here, get this coming up here like this. Can you see that? Hopefully. And you just gotta line everything up. And get it started. And sometimes you'll have to pick this up, figure out why in the hell it's not lining up. And sometimes you'll just end up fighting with it until everything, all the planets align and we'll be good. Okay, now you remember this part right here. Man, the shadows. That part right there kind of gets pressed fitted in. So once you get it this far, and you've got those these lined up in where they go. You still need it to go a little bit more, and so please stay. You're gonna stay while I go get my hammer. It's okay to do this because the lowest point is the teeth that are on this shaft, and you'll just tap it. Okay, start that tap there. Then you can come over here. You should use a punch for this. But I'm just going to use, well, hell, I was going to use a flat blade screwdriver, but I don't know. There it is. Okay. I don't think you can see what I'm doing. Getting a... This ain't a flat blade screwdriver, it's an actual punch, like we said. Get it punched into place here. Okay, just like that. And you flip this over, and we got our snap ring. Okay. Now what we got to do is get all of these cables put back in their homes. Start with this one down here. Like I said, push it in here to where you can't turn it. You'll know you got it in that side. And these are just a little bit tricky sometimes, but snaggle it around. Eventually they go. I'm gonna go get us some more light. Okay, goes in. Hold on. Goes in just like that. As you can see, the shape of this bevel fits right in there. You can see it as we look at it right there. That's where the another one's going to go in right there. And so as this is held in by those clamps or a zip tie like I do, keeps it from falling out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get all these in. See how this one came all the way out like that? They will. So what you want to do is, I don't know if I can bring this out here where I can show it. So see how you can just turn this? It's not into the motor. So what you want to do is shove this down in here as you're kind of turning it too. Get it shoved down usually about that far. Then you can't turn it anymore. Now you know it's engaged into the motor. Makes it easier. So I'm going to get this one. I'll just pause it while we're fighting with that. Okay, so we got our zip tie on there. I think it works really well. If you do end up wanting to ship me your base, this whole thing here, and you want me to put these original clamps on, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just hard to get in, but if that's the way you want it, that's cool. I totally understand that. This is just the way I prefer it, but you tell me and let me know how you want it done, if that's the route you're going to go. But with this video, you'll probably be able to do this. So we got one more cable to put on here. You just, I marked these so that, I can tell which one was which. Okay, I'm going to pause it. I'm fighting with that. Okay, we've got all our cables installed right where they need to go. Got that installed. Let's get our spring put on here. I'll show you how to do that, because those can be kind of tricky. So what I do is I get tools like these, because it's going to go like this, and you're going to have to kind of turn this to match this that slot. As you can see there, let's go ahead and maybe I'll put y'all right here while I put this in, because if you start it like this, you can't get the thing up, because this part needs to be up and over like that. So if you get these on here, I get them in here as far as I can. That, clip them in there. That still gives it some room to get on there. And then I take these little bitty pliers here, and we're going to rotate in the same direction as you would if this is going to be pushing down on this. So we're going to be rotating these in a clockwise position. So I go ahead and put these on here, and you just rotate it around. I sort of got I did the other ones a lot easier than this. Okay. Just tap it in here. Put your finger to hold it. Take these off. And then just tap your spring in place. That'll get that. Easy peasy. This goes up underneath this spring here, and then it goes and lands on that. usually like to have that all the way forward. Puts more tension on it. Okay. We are ready to bolt this up. I'm going to give this thing another tug here to make sure that that's tight. Okay. I'm going to kind of push this forward as I tighten this, because it's wanting to, if it's back too far, then it's too loose and that spring comes out. Okay. I don't need all this extra plastic. So this goes back into place here. And that's easy enough to do. So we are done. Yeah, just over here double checking my work, and I am by far not a perfect human being. Remember to put your pins in here. I didn't, but got them now. It's not a mistake unless I put it in the car and shipped it down the road. Even though this being my car, but I run my own shop, so I really got to watch out for that kind of stuff. Anyways, remember that. I'm gonna get this thing bolted on here. All right, all done, ready to install. Got our springs on, all our bolts are tight, our pins are in here. We've got our pins on the back side for these. Everything there is good. Our cables are all, we got our forward and reverse motor, which is going right here. Easy to tell for your forward and reverse motor. We got a rear tilt going back. This is the back of the chair. And we got our front tilt going around here into our front tilt. All that in there. If you do have to take these cables off of this end, just loosen these bolts up. And I've got another video that shows how to take these bolts off. See how this hole's bigger? This will drop down, and then you can just pull these out. But I've got other videos that show how to do just that, if that's what you need to do. So now we're ready to install this. Here we are. Oops. Nice functioning power seats that seem to run really well. Not laboring to do nothing. Okay. All right, that's a wrap. It's everything you can do to service up the entire power seat system between this video and the other video that shows you how to install the new updated switch. I am going to possibly offer, if there's any interest at all, if you don't feel like you want to tackle it on your own and you feel like you want to, box up both of those bases and ship them to me and have me go through and do everything, replace what's needed, and make them fully functional. I can do that. Just hit me up. I'll put my email address right here. And anyways, that's it for now. Up until the next time we got something else on these, because it's actually kind of fun learning and working on all this stuff. I've been a mechanic for a long time, but never really worked on stuff like this, and it's pretty cool. And I like to share everything that I can learn that way, especially these power seats, because of the fire hazard. There's been
too many that you can just Google, read stuff, pictures, all kinds of, excuse me, different, I mean, yeah, it can be bad because there's power on it all the time. I do recommend a battery disconnect if you're going to leave the car parked for for a long period of time. But the thing is, it can happen when you go to the grocery store. It can all of a sudden just get hot. You stop, park the car, and boom, all of a sudden there it goes on fire. So don't want that. But anyways, if you do have any other questions, you can. I always try to answer questions. Not always most timely, possible, but I try. Anyways, with that, we'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.